Good morning or afternoon to everyone. We are team number 1, and today our team will present an analysis of how the COVID-19 pandemic affected the Mexican restaurant industry. So this presentation is based on our final essay, which includes a SWOT analysis and several strategic proposals to help the industry recover and become more resilient. To begin, it's important to understand that the pandemic created a sudden and extremely crisis. So thousands of restaurants across Mexico experienced low sales, high operating costs, staff shortages, and drastic change in customer behavior. So as a gastronomy students who care about the future of this industry, we believe that it's essential to review what happened and consider some solutions that could strengthen restaurants nationwide. So I will start discussing the strengths of the Mexican restaurant industry. One of the biggest strengths in Mexico-rich gastronomy culture is that Mexican cuisine is internationally recognized and is even listed by UNESCO as intangible cultural heritage. So this gives our restaurants a strong identity who attracts both international and national customers. And another strength is the creativity of Mexican chefs who constantly innovate with ingredients, techniques, and regional traditions. Additionally, many restaurants have loyal customers who appreciate the authentic flavor, good service, and cultural value. However, the pandemic also exposed several weaknesses. Most small and medium-sized restaurants operate with very limited financial savings, so they depend on daily sales to cover salaries, rent, and supplies. Because of this, many businesses were unable to survive months of low income. And another major weakness is the lack of technology. Many restaurants didn't use digital tools like online menus, delivery systems, and inventory software, or social media marketing, and this made it much harder for them to adapt during the pandemic when the industry became almost entirely digital. And finally, there is an issue of high staff turnover, which increased after COVID-19. Many workers left the industry in search of more stable jobs, affecting the overall functioning of restaurants. With these points in mind, I will now pass the presentation to Lucy, who will talk about Opportunity Street and our proposed actions.
Thank you, Bere. Now I will continue with the opportunities, threats, and the first part of our strategic proposals. Even though the pandemic causes serious problems, it also created new opportunities for the restaurant industry. One important opportunity is the growth of delivery platforms, which completely change how customers access food. The restaurants can take advantage of this by modernizing their online presence and opening delivery-friendly menus. There is also a growing interest in local products, sustainable gastronomy, and regional culinary trends. This trend can help restaurants create strong identities and attract new audience. Finally, many national and international organizations are willing to support economic recovery programs, opening the door to funding and collaboration. On the other hand, the industry faces several threats. Economic instability and inflation continue to increase ingredients price and operating costs. Competition has also grown not only among traditional restaurants, but also from ghost kitchens and large delivery apps that charge high commissions. Another huge threat is the possibility of health emergencies. Many restaurants are still not prepared to face another crisis of that magnitude. Now I will explain the first two strategic actions from our proposals. The first is a digital transformation program. If we were national advisor for CANIAC, we will create a program that offers free digital training for small restaurants. This includes tools such as QR menu, social media marketing, cost control software, digital payment systems, and customer loyalty programs. If restaurants receive this type of support, they will be able to increase their visibility, improve organization, and reduce unnecessary expense. The second action is the creation of Nationality Employment Protection Fund. If we work together with the Mexican government and global institutions like the IMF or World Bank, we will design a fund that helps restaurants pay part of the employees' and salaries during emergencies. If these funds had exist during the pandemic, thousands of workers will not have lost their job. Protecting employment is essential because restaurants depend heavily on cooks, waiters, dishwashers, and managers. Now I will hand the presentation to Carlos, who will present the final actions, explain the results, and conclusions.
Thank you, Lucy. And now I'll continue with our last two proposals, and then I'll close with the expected results and our overall conclusion. Okay, so our third proposal is all about strengthening local supply chains, because one of the lessons that we learned from pandemic was how risky it is for restaurants to depend on a few large suppliers. So if we could work with the Ministry of Agriculture, we can deal with partnerships from direct local suppliers, for example, like farmers, like fishermen, or even artisans. And the impact of this action would be huge, because restaurants would lower their costs, improve freshness, and also offer products that represent the identity of each region. At the same time, local farmers, local producers would be benefit from steady demand and also economic growth. So strengthening these supply chains is not all about business, but also about protecting culture, tradition, and regional pride. And finally, our fourth proposed action focuses on a gastronomic tourism recovery strategy. So if we collaborated with the World Tourism Organization, we could design a campaign that truly shows the world what Mexican cuisine has to offer. So we're talking about curated culinary routes, regional festivals, cooking workshops, and also strategic alliances with hotels, airlines, and tourism agencies. So if this strategy were carried out effectively, thousands of restaurants across the country, not just those in tourist hotspots, would gain a lot of visibility, and they would gain a lot of visitors. This would motivate both national and international tourists to explore Mexican food in a deeper and more authentic way, and also it generates long-term opportunities for the industry. Now, when we look at the expected results, benefits become really clear, because digital modernization would help restaurants to increase their sales and to stay competitive. And on the other hand, the protection fund help workers to find their protection to crisis and face them. Also, strengthening local supply chains would support regional economies and improve the quality of a culinary experience. And also, promoting tourism would generate new jobs, long-term growth, and the international recognition for one of Mexico's most valuable assets, the food. To conclude, the pandemic showed how vulnerable the industry is, but it also revealed something important. how the industry can reinvent itself. If Mexico applies these strategies correctly, the industry can become more important, more resilient, and better prepared for future situations. Supporting restaurants with strategies is not just about business, it's about protecting cultural identity, economic stability, and the livelihood of thousands of families.